Hello. I guess I'd just like to share with you a new piece that I'm working on. It's my fourth work for wind ensemble. It's based off of Vincent Persichetti's book, 20th Century Harmony. And really the idea behind the work is just taking some of the exercises that he has in the book and some of his harmony techniques and other examples that he has, and just try to turn it into a piece. It started out as an exercise that my professor down here at the University of Florida, Dr. James Paul Singh, gave me. Pretty much just write a presto for three muted trumpets. So I did that, and using all secundal harmony techniques. So I did that and
Mike,
figured that
can
what it
I
kind of would.
interrupt you for a second? Could you
Yeah, sure.
share the screen? Could you share the screen?
Yeah, sure. Let me see. Is it up?
Yes, it's there.
Okay.
I can see.
Okay, yeah. So here's the work here. Maybe if I don't know where to really kind of begin. Um, Let me see. So pretty much, yeah. So the work started out with just this exercise, and writing this presto for three trumpets, which I believe is over here somewhere. Let me see. Okay, yeah, here we go. So in here, kind of see, I kind of started here with these trumpets using all this secundal harmony. You'll see it in the trumpet 1 and 2 part, and pretty much it's very quick. It kind of flies by, and it was kind of difficult writing within this limited amount of material, especially just using minor seconds and major seconds. It was kind of strange. So after working with a few different ideas and trying to make it interesting rhythmically, I kind of came up with this little scheme that alternates between a 4/8 and 3/8 over the course of so many measures, and followed by this 9/8 arpeggiated thing happening in the piano. Now the work is still in progress, so there's a lot of things missing right now. But you'll see that I kind of attached like this melody that is derived from another part of the book. And just slapped it in the oboe part, and it kind of creates an interesting kind of texture. But with these muted trumpets, kind of adding a kind of nasally sound to the section, it kind of complements what's happening in the oboe
I
section.
have a question right away, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
I want to ask you, how do you go about, since this is a piece for the orchestra, do you have like preparatory kind of ideas, like like a piano or a reduction of some sort of your idea before you set it to the orchestra, or do you go right away and write it in the score?
Here, I'll tell you. I'll bring up a video, and I'll show you where I do my sketch work. Can you see me?
Yes, I think, yeah, we can see.
Okay, so here's pretty much where. Let me just turn this light off back here. Distracting. So in here is I usually do everything on 3-line staff paper first. So you can kind of see it here. I find that this is the most easy and effective way to work is on this 3-line staff paper, just to kind of hash out some different ideas and to kind of begin there. And then from there, I try and write out as much of the piece as I can, until things can kind of get kind of crazy. You can see the room can get kind of cramped, but I mean, this to me works really well because you get your outer voices down, and then it's got your middle line. If you can get your outer voices down on either end of the on the thing, and then you got your middle line to really kind of work with some harmonic or gestural ideas. This kind of thing seems to work. So this is where I start, is in here, and then once I get the whole piece hashed out, then I go back and I write it. Then I begin orchestrating it. So everything starts here, and then we go to the orchestrational part of it. But I mean, a lot of it changes, of course, as you begin to orchestrate it, because that is a whole nother part of the compositional process, and you start to think timbrally, and large sections often change, so you have to be prepared to go back to your your workbook and rehash out different ideas and, you know, just kind of work from there. So,
But
um,
you also have the entire piece from the beginning to the end already in your notes before you start.
oh yeah, it's done from beginning to
Is
end
that
in the notes.
the way you always used to approach this, or?
Yeah. When I was studying at the Settlement School of Music, I was introduced. You know, I'd been working primarily on the computer before then. This is, I guess, I was a junior in high school, and then my teacher Roberto Pace at Settlement School wouldn't allow me to use the computer. He told me the only thing I was really allowed to use was staff paper, and it really kind of forced me to slow down. It was really sloppy in the beginning, but what I found out, which actually made things better, was because I was slowing down, I was actually able to really think about what was coming out. And then really what slowed me down even more, but really kind of made it quicker, was this little thing here. You know, just having a ruler, a simple ruler, you know, and drawing your bar lines with a ruler. I know it sounds silly, but it really slows you down and forces you to really think about what.
You're drawing the space for yourself, and then you're filling up that space.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, I can show you some of my old manuscript books. I mean,
I
it's
believe
just
you.
these
I believe you.
big obnoxious lines, and you know, the stems are nasty and everything. But
That's
wait,
okay. I have
yeah,
another
yeah,
question. I have another question.
yeah.
Basically, do you come up to with your ideas from the piano, or do you have do you work at the piano, or you have some other kinds of inspirational ideas?
For a while, I worked primarily at the piano. That was my main media that I would work with to kind of come up with ideas. But I found out that my limited skill and my thoughts and my compositions were being greatly affected by the piano, and that was kind of determining the course of the composition. And looking at it, you could tell it was very amateur work. So what I decided to do, and what I was forced to do really through a lot of my different teachers, was to compose away from the piano. So a lot of that was just, you know, walking around, taking walks, just listening. And it's funny because you can start to hear gesturally, you know, instruments doing different things or different timbres. And so once I have the idea kind of ready and prepared in my mind, you know, I kind of know exactly what I'm looking for. Then I go down at the piano and find out which notes they are. And quite often, I come to find that I can find the intervals rather quickly than if I were to just sit down and kind of plunk them out. If I just listen carefully, the intervals are really starting to kind of come through. And I guess that's part of the reason where like the ear training comes in. And I know ear training can be trivial in your undergraduate studies, but you know, it really does make I think a difference if you really kind of take it seriously, because it helps develop the ear and stuff like that. Can you say it again?
They first decide on the rhythm, on that pattern, on the without any pitch information, without any
Oh,
harmonic
the
information.
rhythm you're saying.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. No, I've done I've approached actually several sections within this piece was really based on rhythm and just, you know, hashing out the rhythm first, and really a lot of that's finding where the accents place, and then just kind of muddling out what it is that you're hearing. You know, it really ends up kind of just kind of putting itself together. But yeah, the rhythmic, if placing the rhythms down and then putting the notes on top. I mean, it's kind of a different kind of way of working, but it's definitely effective, and which I used for different parts of this piece that I'm actually doing now. I can show you here if you want to see. Let me just turn this off. Bring this. Okay, so here there's a piano part in the beginning. For this work, I really tried to implement the piano more and more because of you know, it's really a neat texture to add with the wind ensemble. If you can get a good player, it makes all the difference. Okay, so here's a part that's happening. It's really kind of it's very quick. It's kind of fast, but this rhythmic figure was kind of thought out first before before I actually implemented the notes. So this is like a little introduction, and then it kind of comes by, and then right here it's accompanied with this trumpet theme that is one of these themes in his book that Persichetti uses. And so here's this rhythmic figure. It's moving rather quickly, and the accents aren't in place yet, but you can kind of see what's happening here. Where I'm using, you know, the rhythmic figure here and how fast it's moving is really the kind of driving force behind this section. And then kind of coming up with the meters first and then slapping the notes on top really kind of, you know, kind of made it.
I see some scales.
Where's that?
No,
These things here? Yeah.
some interesting shapes in the music.
Yeah. It's kind of wild. But, yeah, the sound world is a kind of a mode mixture between like a Locrian, Phrygian kind of thing. Then there's a lot of like a octatonic. There's three kind of sounds kind of blend really well.
Stravinsky, like, yeah, it looks a little bit like, yeah, the piano texture.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's not. I mean this whole section I still have to kind of rehash. You can see there's not many dynamics or anything, and this whole section here is all messed up looking and stuff. But you get the idea of you know of kind of what's happening here.
Do you have a habit of, at the same time, developing several compositions, several, thinking about several different pieces, or do you prefer like focusing on the same piece for the time being?
Now you know I usually am about working on maybe 2 or 3 pieces at a time. You know, I mean this is kind of dominated probably about the past month or so. But I just started working on a piece for alto sax and clarinet. Somebody asked me to write, and then I'm also working on this the electronic music program down here is pretty down here in Florida is pretty strong, and a few of the guys that I go to class with have introduced me to this program called Super Collider. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it, but it's all it's a computer language for you know for music and stuff like that. So like for instance, like here's something I can play it quickly if you want to hear. So like here's like a sound, and all these numbers are variables that you can change within the sound, and for each. Yeah, no, it's not that bad. I mean, once you read it enough, you know, you can kind of make. I don't know if you can hear it.
That language, the programming language?
Yeah. Oops. Sorry, hold on. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm learning it now. There's a book that just came out here. I can show you here. It's a new book. Is the video up or no?
Yes, it is.
You can see me? Can you? Okay. Here's Can you see this book? Or no. Oops, I'm sorry. Hold on.
We can see.
Oh, okay. Hold on. About. Okay, yeah. So here's this book here. I don't know if you can see it. Super cool. Yeah. So this is the text that just came out for this particular program, and you can see the guys here really do a great job of breaking down and giving you some examples and things to start with. But I mean, it's the live synthesis kind of software, and there's a few concerts, or there was a concert I just seen recently, or I guess, yes, 2 days ago, I don't know, just recent, where like, for instance, there was a cello player, and the cellist was playing with into a microphone, and then the sound was directly being affected live. So there was like maybe a small delay, and then the sound would be reproduced, and I mean, it's really some wild kind of stuff. The kid I go to school with, Ben, he does all kinds of stuff affiliated with Super Collider and does a good job of using the software and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'm kind of working on this and a few other things. But yeah, that's pretty much it. How it works.
So I'm curious, Mike, what drew you to this Persichetti influence? His music isn't performed very often, other than a few etudes and whatnot. So I'm sort of interested in what really drew you to Persichetti.
A lot of the band director at Rowan University, Commander John Paston, talked a lot about Persichetti and and just like some of his ideas for the wind ensemble. He's a big more of a wind ensemble kind of guy, and he did some strange things with orchestration that you know, kind of created some different timbral things, and so that's probably where the first attraction came in. When I was studying with Dennis de Blasio, he had talked about how this book has these different compositional exercises, and you know, more for his students. Like he talks about like using polychords and, you know, just using 4 or 5 of them and creating a small piece off of it. And so that kind of works for me, because I sometimes can fall into the trap of doing what I know how to do well and not trying new things. So this section of writing the secundal harmony was kind of a bit of a stretch from what I was used to, but I was able to kind of use that exercise to kind of, you know, make some material out of. So the book is rather interesting, along with some of the stuff. Not everything that he's written is I wouldn't call it great, but a lot of this stuff that I can't think of now, but of which that has probably had some larger influence on what I'm doing, so to speak.
So do you view this piece more of as a model composition, something to improve your technique in one area and then move on, or are you interested in this being a piece that's performed and is in your portfolio? And
yeah, this is the 4th work I've written for wind ensemble, and the medium itself is kind of tricky. The first 3 pieces I've written were more for a symphonic band sort of setting, so a lot of doublings, very big, loud textures, and a lot of that was really just learning how to orchestrate correctly for the ensemble, especially like trombone voicing, French horn voicing, you know, the proper way, quote unquote, where to put your flutes versus your clarinets, and, you know, the ranges, and at what point does the clarinet start to sound bad with everybody else playing along with it. So the first 3 pieces were kind of highlighting that, so to speak, on how to write for this, or how to orchestrate rather for this medium. And then this piece in particular was more or less treating the ensemble as a wind ensemble. So there's less doublings, and there's little choirs, and there's a lot more use of the percussion. So yeah, so like the first 3, I imagine a good high school or college level band would be able to play. This 4th piece is definitely, you know, college level professional military kind of band, and I would consider it more of a serious work for the wind ensemble as opposed to the first 3 I had written, which were more, you know, I guess more studies in orchestration. Whereas this piece is still a study, but more of a study on, you know, writing in a wind ensemble sort of technique as opposed to a symphonic band.
And I had one more question. So you work in the short score on 3 staves. Are you just thinking of the pitches abstractly there, or are you envisioning timbres, voicings, these kinds of things at that point?
Yeah, I usually develop like a harmonic sound world. There's one sound world that I've been working in particular. I've kind of been developing, so I've kind of been working within this world. So when there's gestures, or when there's you know, like scalar ideas, or, you know, like upward gestures or downward gestures, the notes are already predetermined, because I can just pretty much run down the sound and it's going to fit, no matter what, because everybody's still working within this harmonic sound world. So, and then when it transposes and everything, and when the sound changes, I can, you know, easily change the gesture to accommodate the sound that I'm working within.
Yeah, but you're thinking about, sorry, go ahead. But are you thinking about specific instruments at this point in the short score?
In the shorts, oh yeah, like there's some moments where it's like, okay, this has definitely got to be alto sax, or this is definitely got to be bass trombone, you know, doubled with, you know, three French horns, or something like that. Or
Yeah.
so I'll make notes in the short score, which really help, because then when I go back to it, I can be like, oh, okay, that's what I was thinking about when I came up with this idea. Because sometimes you can get confused if you're not making careful notes. You can look at it and think, God, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
So for the second part of our conversation, I did want to share some of my own ideas. Since half a year ago, I started looking at compositions for orchestra that were written in the last, let's say, 10 years, and I really found some very interesting scores. One of which I want to talk in particular about. This is by Wolfgang Rihm. It's called in German, I guess, Verwandlung 3, music for the orchestra, composed in 2007-2008. It's a piece. I think it takes about 10 minutes playing time. And how did I decide to study it? I had finale, and I decided to write it in finale, basically copying it note for note. And in the process, trying to kind of learn and see how things are built together, and maybe find out a little bit more about Grimm's style, which I had some interest from before. Some of you who might not know him, Wolfgang Rihm is considered post-romantic, let's say, composer, and in the process of reading that score, let me show you one thing. I think I have it here. I have some fragments from it. Yes. So I think that's it. There's a lot of stuff is going on in the music. Every measure, different layers. You can see different layers, ideas, and it's hard for the ear to pick out what's the most important thing. So he has really come up with some style that forces the listener to decide on what's the most interesting texture to hear. Of course, as in any orchestration, if we're talking about orchestration, there are doublings of things, and you can see groups doing kind of the same idea. But things are going so fast, it's really hard to understand it from the first listening of the piece. That's why I have this special player, and I did play it twice as slow, the tempo twice as slow, without changing the pitch. And even then, there are so much information that it's hard to pick out. So great. Well, I'm in the process of I'm still writing the notes of this piece. He's doing very cool things in it from the point of view of harmony, from the point of view of rhythmical organization. It's more traditional, and he's using 4-4-3-4 bars always, and some occasional changes, but he compensates that approach with setting different tempis, stringendos, and accelerandos. So on the same page, you can have three different kind of tempo indications, and so on. So it really, when I first time listened to that piece, I couldn't really understand what's in most of the places. Of course, I could not really pick out the the rhythmical organization. It really seemed to me quite abstract. But then when looking at the score, it's really it becomes kind of clear. So yes, let's see. Okay, so that's one thing that I've been doing. So here you have the textures that he's using basically. Lot of things. Okay. The other things I was trying to look at compositions for my own information as I was trying to get myself started on a new piece for the orchestra, and before I actually started writing the first notes, I also have the manuscript with ideas, just like Mike. But I went as far as only kind of figuring out the main themes and ideas in that for that step. I'm not really thinking about continuity at the moment. Just trying to find something interesting to develop later on. So something like looks like this basically. Let me show you. As you can see, it has some embellishments in it, and that comes straight from the folklore music of Eastern Europe, of Moldova, Romania, Serbia, those countries. I think that embellishments there are really a potential in them still. Recently I was listening to some pre-classical composers, some harpsichord composers, and the way they use, the way they were thinking about embellishments, and the way it became an integral part of the style. But of course we don't have recordings, authentic recordings of this. We only know from the information that later on was passed to us about those great improvisers. Well, this is just the start of that you can see some embellishments, and this page is not particularly full of them, but you can see. The embellishments can be written in or like notated above the note with some grace notes. So it's a very interesting thing, and it invites improvisation too. It invites improvisation. Yeah, Mike.
If I just had a quick question, you just touched on what I was just about to ask. Would you consider leaving room in your orchestral score for improvisation, or are you going to be very specific about where you would like your embellishments to take place?
See, I think the embellishments and improvisation are two kind of different things. Embellishments, they still fit in time. They're still they're part of that structure. So the improvisation I think it's something that can be really, really free. So I think embellishments, the best explanation for that term for me is there is a central note that you take as the base, and then around that note you find out things to do to make that note more interesting. And this is also can be seen as a way to avoid this 12-tone limitation that we have, our half tones. And if you listen to some of the Eastern European folklore recordings played on the violin, for example, you know, they play with all this in between the semitones. You know, they do their embellishments. They have so many different shades that they can on their own will, on their own desire, they can recall. You know, between, let's say, F and G, they can have 10 different shades of those notes.
Yeah.
Using, of course, the embellishments. It's like basically what embellishments are doing is basically, I think, approaching us to the human voice in a way. You know, it's just setting that flexibility. But I think it's still part of the rhythmical structure of the music, where the improvisation is can be really all the way out somewhere else. So, as you can see, most of what I write on these pages is in treble clef. And recently, I've been doing some experiments, let's call them experiments for myself, in coming up with ideas, not using the piano as the medium for new thoughts, but using the voice. Just continuing my thought, voice is the most perfect instrument of all, and it's the direct link from the brain that we have. There is nothing closer to the brain, to the thoughts, right, than our voice.
Yeah.
So I guess, and I did want to find a way to record, you know, what I was able to do with my voice, and so I just found my iPod, you know, just pressed the record button, and I have these short fragments, after which I try to write them in the music with particular notes. Sometimes things that I sing, of course, are out of tune. I don't have great talent for singing, but I really like it. So yes, so I have to kind of find particular notes and shapes, and sometimes it's just a starting point for me to begin like an idea using the iPod and my own voice. So basically, let me play some recording, and I know for some it may sound really crazy, but this is what I've been doing. Let me see if I can pull out this recording now. It doesn't want to go. Okay, yeah. 1 second. So again, it can sound really crazy, but please sit with me yet. 1 second. So begin from the beginning. It's short. It's not very long. So. Really crazy, I think, yes?
I didn't hear anything.
You didn't hear anything?
No, it didn't come through.
Didn't come. I see. Well, probably it's one of the limitations that we have on Skype. I will send you the recording. Let's see. But I have the.
Are you able to play it? Just
Yes, I think I'm able to play it on the. You mean on? Am I able to play it on? Let me send it to you using Skype. Okay. So,
okay.
just 1 second. So, back to our window here. So let me find it here. So let's put a stop to our recording again. So Mike, what's your impression after hearing this
If the I gotta play it right now. So you did this to what was the reasoning again for doing it?
So I'm trying to get away from me coming up with ideas on the piano, just trying to
Mm.
find other ways, and maybe expanding the ideas that I have, because you know for a number of years I've been doing kind of the same thing, improving on the same techniques, but not really exploring different things. So this is
Mm.
one of them, I guess, one of the new things, new ideas.
Yeah. Now I think it's an effective way to get there. You know, rather than using the piano, using your voice. I think it's effective. Are you trying to generate a kind of motive out of it, or just a kind of sound in particular, or is there anything?
I want to write something that is totally different from what I wrote before. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah.
Completely different. I'm kind of a little bit exhausted of the things that I've been doing, and I want to do something else. So here you go. That's it.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
That's the 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 way I choose to put it on paper. So let me explain a couple of things. First of all, the range that I'm singing, I determined that it's approximately C sharp to A.
Oh, okay.
But the way I notate it in the music, because there are so many different shades to
Mm,
what I'm singing, yeah?
yeah.
I did spread it out over 2 octaves, I think, yeah, over like an octave and a half. And
Mm,
of course, the way it is notated now, it's kind of like approximate, because it can't really come as close to what I'm doing. Okay, there are other
right.
things that are perhaps of interest to you. You see this plus signs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the plus sign basically means that it's not.
Okay. Wait. Can you share your screen again?
So you didn't see it. Yeah, I see. We can see it on the recording, I guess, but you can see it.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for telling me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There we go.
So this is it. You can see it,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
this is the range, and this is how I spread that range.
Oh, okay. Oh,
You
okay. I
that
see. Yeah.
plus signs, basically
Mm-hmm.
means that it's not a regular 3/4 bar. As you can
Mm.
see, has a little more beats than that, right? And then you
Yeah.
see several kind of stems up, stems down, but those are not things that you do with different instruments. This is the thing that you do on one instrument. You know, I've been thinking of ways to notate a particular rhythm, starting not from the next kind of beat, right? Strong beat, good beat,
Yeah.
but starting on the previous one, and therefore um,
Oh, wow.
with this you're capable to write so many flexible things, just like in my recording, in the voice recording that
Yeah.
I shared with you. Because I came out
Mm.
to decide how I'm going to notate what I just did, and
Mm.
I did not want to stretch the notes to fit in the beats. I did want to notate them as
Right.
closely to what sound as possible. So you see those
Mm-hmm.
plus signs, basically that means it's more than a 3/4. Then you see some
Right.
plus signs on the notes themselves. So basically those notes are stretched a little longer, not enough
Mm.
to make it an 8th note, but
Yeah.
just enough to shake the rhythm so it sounds really out of the normal um, 4/4, 2/4, 3/4 pattern kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you see a complex rhythm such as this one, for example, um, fits interestingly in, and it creates a new kind of rhythmical flexibility, what I call limited rhythmical flexibility. Limited
Mm.
because it's still notated. It would be unlimited if there would be no notation. So it's
Right.
limited, but the precise results are really dependent on the musician who is interpreting that. He has to stay in the limits of what he's presented with on the page. So
Mm.
and then you have some different like a smaller idea, like the same notes are notated in two different ways. Basically, what I'm aiming at is arriving at a compromise between those two rhythms.
Mm.
Something in between either, but something that is neither one or the other. So,
Mm.
if you don't mind, can you play my recording one more time so you can hear it and we can hear it too? And let's follow
You want me to play it so that way you can hear it as well?
yeah, I know it's
Okay.
imagine. Imagine. But definitely, do you mind staying from the beginning, please?
Okay.
And a little bit louder. If
A little bit.
that's
Let me
fine.
see. Yeah, it'll be loud as I can get it.
Come to life. It did come to life, I think.
Yeah.
It's yeah. It took me some time to figure that out, but I think it's something that interests me. At least. So I'm gonna be looking for experimenting with that the limited flexibility of rhythm.
Mm.
The more simpler kind of idea from this that anybody can use in their own things is this little plus thing, you know. It's an
Mhm.
interesting concept, I think. It's very simple. And
Yeah.
let's say you have a 3/4 bar that has not 6/8 notes, but 7. Why write in 7/8? Write 3/4
Mm.
plus. You know, it doesn't. I mean, if the melody, if the rhythm doesn't shake enough, you know, the general beats, you know, 3 beats in a bar, it only adds one more. It's like an addition. Why notate it with a different rhythm?
Mm.
If it's this applies for pieces for actually more for solo compositions. You know, basically you can't avoid even having the time signature, but I think it has to first of all depend on what kind of texture you have, what kind of uh, basic ideas you have. I think 3/4, a little one more note doesn't really disturb the 3/4 enough to write it as 7/8 notes, and so on.
Mm.
Or, for example, 2/4 can have a minus too. You know, if you have only, let's say, 16 notes in a bar, it can have a feel of 2/4 that is cheated a little bit, but it's more convenient for the musician to, I think, at least from my perspective, to understand that as a shrink to 4 rather than having all those strange rhythms and strange time signature changes which only distract the attention. So basically two different things. One a little bit more complex, the other one is a little simpler. So a bar like this, for example, yeah, 3/4. Basically, it's 3 beats
Mm.
with an additional note which doesn't really set. It's not the end of the composition. If I make myself clear, yes. So
Mm-hmm.
in some ways, it's much easier to read that kind of thing than 7/8 notes. You know what I mean? Because this is still
Mm.
to me it looks like 3/4 with a little addition here. So basically, those kinds of things I did want to discuss. So yeah.
Do you think it would make it a little more effective if you did the plus and then drew a quarter note, or I'm sorry, an eighth note in there, just so that way they know which value is being added to the bar.
The reason, yeah, well, it can be differently done, and maybe it has been done before. I just happen that I never saw it like this. But we're trying to achieve the easiest way to look at the music, to read the music. You know, all these formulas, and they go, and there is no end to that. So
Yeah.
yes, the easier it is, the better it is. But for the recording that I shared with you, I think this is the only way you can write in that particular flexibility of rhythm. So now the other question is, how would I make use of all this flexibility in a composition for a group of people to perform, right? For an orchestra, let's say. Of course, other than having somebody do just a simple ad libitum and so on, I still think about those things, and I guess the idea that I really want to focus on is it's great if we look for other ways to come up with some things. I mean, not just do the same old stuff, but experiment a little more. And I'm saying that it comes from me, because I myself I'm really inclined to do the old ways more than to try new things. So this is kind of the first thing that I thought it's exciting for me. So
So I was curious, what you might think with like what Brian Fernyho's doing with his kind of notation versus like what you're doing here. Like it seems like maybe what he's doing is super exactive.
yeah, see, I'm not familiar with what he's doing. I would like to see that. See, the question here is not being super exact. It's just being able to avoid the beats. Avoid the beats. Make it natural.
Okay, yeah.
Basically, this actually is very simple. I'm not using any formulas, no counting. Oh, this is the only kind of bar, but basically what he's saying is you have to play 5/16 notes in the place of 3/8 notes. So, but that's the only kind of stuff like that in the entire thing. So, I think if you see this rhythmical gesture, this is actually very simple. Simple stuff in comparison to some exact notations from the 60s and 70s by the avant-garde composers. I think this is pretty simple in a way, but the result is the same.
Yeah.
The result is actually very similar in sound, in terms of the flexibility that they did want to achieve. So basically that's this is new things that I'm thinking about at the moment, and I hope that I will get to a new kind of step for me. Start thinking about continuity again. Because for the last couple months I've been only doing searching for small things, small ideas, and I didn't write anything basically other than those pages of melodies, basically, like what you can see on that.
So is this being used in your orchestra piece? What you have?
Right now, my orchestra piece, it's only the name. There is nothing, nothing yet, almost nothing in it. But I see. I want to think about composition as not just technical experiment, not just something you want to try, but as a statement of that has also some beyond music information to that, maybe some spiritual content, some idea that will bring those those notes together. You know what I mean? Because there are so many great measures of music, but not so many compositions. There are so many ideas, you know, but not really something unified and something that has a clear, effective beginning, middle, and end. So basically, until I decide on the program, on some kind of until I'm ready to connect the notes that I have now into something bigger, I'm not gonna move from that space. So.
Mm. Yeah, it's an interesting topic. I sometimes think about connecting music to like you said, maybe spirituality or how that might tie in. And sometimes I feel like I'm crossing the line of is it necessarily the music or is it a particular sound, even maybe just a flat sound or something that maybe achieves is it the physiological effect or you know what I mean?
As a composer, I'm now more inclined to think that the starting point should not be music, and it should not be the sound, should not be
Yeah.
the technical things that you want to try, but instead it's a form of expression of what? Right? Of something.
Yeah.
Not sound, emotion, something that cannot be explained with different means. So I like to think a little beyond the notes. I think great pieces of music, they're first of all they're great pieces of philosophy. They're great experiences. I'm not saying that all music should be philosophical, but it's more than just the 8 notes and all the rhythms that I showed you before earlier. So basically, that's my take on that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
it's out there. It's out there, and
Yeah.
just on a more philosophical term, since we are talking about philosophy a little bit now, I just want to say that everybody's got something of their own style, their own handwriting, their own calligraphy in whatever they're doing, in whatever they teach. So, and I also think that basically you go as far as you can. You go as far as you can, no matter what you're trying to do. If you're a good person, you achieve the result as far as you can. So, but that has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with what we've been talking about now.
This belongs in one of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books.
Something that lets you sleep well at night, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Our meeting really got stretched beyond any norms.
Yeah. It's like a composition lesson.
Yes, but everybody's a student, everybody's studying, and I hope those who are seeing this video are enjoying it as well as we are right now. So thank you, Mike, and I'd like to thank Evan for participating today, and please join us for the next ISPC web meeting.